Hi, I'm Tony Schrader, Chairman of the Putnam County Republican Party, and we're very honored to be joined today by a good friend of Putnam County, the one and only Secretary of State of Ohio, Frank LaRose. It's good to be with you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Chairman.
It's always great to see you. Voters in Putnam County know you well. They like you because we were your best performing county on a percentage basis in 2018. And, well, we won't talk about whether we're going to do that again in 22 because that's a little early yet. But it's a great joy to be with you today. Even though we know you well, tell us just a little bit about your background and what has been going on in the Secretary of State's office the past few years.
Grew up in Northeast Ohio, and so born and raised in the Akron area. Was blessed to be mentored by a man who was the leader of my Boy Scout troop, and he was a World War II veteran, still is. In fact, at 98 years old, he's still going strong. We love Bill Miller, but I got to hear the stories sitting around the campfire at Boy Scout camp about liberating a concentration camp, landing in Normandy. Like, those are the kind of stories I got to hear from Bill Miller, this World War II veteran. And so I knew from a young age I wanted to enlist in the Army as soon as I turned 18, and sure enough, I did. 18 years old, graduated high school, left for basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, served as an engineer with the 101st Airborne for a couple years, and then was given a unique opportunity to try out for the Army Special Forces. And I became a Green Beret and did that for another number of years, and had a great time with it. But I was ready for a formal education, although I got a great education in the Army. I went to Ohio State, earned a business degree, and as a non-traditional student, I was in my late 20s at that point. Instead of joining a fraternity, I got involved in politics. That became my fraternity, if you will. Like most people, my origin story started off with one day I walked into a campaign headquarters and said, hey, I'd like to help.
There you were.
Worked on a number of campaigns, and then when I finished college, I said, maybe I should run. I had this business degree from Ohio State. My head was telling me to go pursue a living in the free market, which I would have loved to do, but my heart was telling me to run for public office. I moved back home to Akron, ran in an unlikely race for the state senate. Summit County, where I was born and raised, is hard territory for Republicans, but we worked hard, and I arrived in the state senate, worked on a number of things, served as transportation chairman, did a lot to streamline, cut regulations and red tape and make government more responsive to the needs of our business community. But really my focus during my 8 years was on elections. John Husted, when he was Secretary of State, asked me to work on a bill to improve overseas military voting. I was the only veteran in the Senate at the time, and so I was kind of the natural choice to do that. It put me on the path to becoming the go-to guy on elections issues in the state Senate. And 8 years later, when John was term limited, I ran to replace him, and it's been a wild ride. It's been a lot of fun, though.
A wild ride is a good description for it, isn't it? So you've been involved in some of the most consequential elections and some of the most consequential election legislation that we've had to deal with in Ohio. We've talked about often, John Husted was famous for saying that he wanted to make it in Ohio, he wanted to make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. And I, as a member of a board of elections, I can confirm that it's both of those things in Ohio. Tell us a little bit about Ohio's election structures compared to other states, and why so many other states are asking you for help right now.
So Ohio does it right. Let's start with this, the mission, right? Excuse me for being an Army guy to the core, but you got to start with the mission. The mission in this office is really two things. We help people start businesses and we help people vote. Last year we broke records in both. We had a record year for new business formations, 171,000 new businesses, but also clearly we shattered all kinds of records for elections last year for voting. And you can only call the 2020 election the most successful election Ohio's ever had.
Absolutely.
But here's what we have in Ohio. First of all, we've got a track record for decades of being in the national spotlight. That's not always fun, but as a result of it, Ohio knows how to run elections and run elections fairly and accessibly. We reject this notion. Sometimes the left wants to say that you have to choose between either a secure election or a convenient election, right? You have to choose between either accessibility or honesty, and I reject that notion. We have both in Ohio. We have elections that are really easy. If you're not voting in Ohio, it's because you've chosen not to vote.
Exactly.
I mean, we make it easy, and that's good. We want it to be convenient for people, but at the same time, it's trustworthy, and here's how we know how. Bipartisan oversight. As you know, we have strong beliefs as Republicans. Our Democratic brothers and sisters have strong beliefs too. They're just wrong. But you know, we work together when it comes to running elections. It's 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats that run each county board of elections, and even the staff is half and half. Even the building is bipartisan, as I like to say, because there's 2 locks on every door. And it's like those old submarine movies from the 1980s
Right.
where it takes 2 keys to launch the torpedo. It takes 2 keys to get into the room at the Board of Elections where the equipment is stored and where the tabulation machines are. And so we run honest contests in Ohio in other ways as well. You know that our voting machines are never connected to the internet.
Correct.
We never would connect a voting machine to the internet. They are tested before each election by a bipartisan team. A group of Republicans and a group of Democrats test these voting machines through a full battery of tests called the logic and accuracy test to make sure they're honest. We have 100% paper trail. There's no such thing as a purely electronic ballot in Ohio. Every vote cast in Ohio has a paper trail that goes with it, and what that allows us to do is to check afterwards through a full audit. We do a post-election audit. We ordered that, and as you know now, it's required in law. And when we did that post-election audit, we counted up the paper ballots, we compared them to the electronic vote, and guess what? It returned an accuracy rate of 99.98%. Now that doesn't get news because it's hard to get the newspaper to run a story. Well, first of all, it's hard to get them to run any good news, but it's second, it's hard to get them to run a story that says the Board of Elections didn't screw anything up. Not particularly newsworthy, but it's important for Ohioans to know that. Bipartisan process, never connected to the internet, paper trail, backups, all of these things. By the way, we also maintain accurate voter rolls. This is something Republicans in particular should know. The Democrats have these. They want to pitch a fit when we remove dead people from the voter rolls, but there should be nothing controversial. They use words like purge that sound really scary. We maintain accurate voter rolls. Guess what? When somebody moves out of state, we're going to remove them from the voter rolls. When somebody dies, we remove them from the voter rolls. This is something we take very seriously here in Ohio.
The dead don't vote in Ohio, so it's what it comes down to.
Yeah.